Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Top Producers Nation podcast. This, of course, is the podcast to help you become a top producer in your desired market, no matter what market that may be. We also serve team leaders and brokers to develop more top producers in their organizations all over the nation. And we are powered here in our local studios here in Tampa Bay, Florida, by the Tampa Bay Real Producers franchise here in Tampa Bay, where we feature the top 500 producing agents in the Tampa Bay market. So one of those agents we've actually featured multiple times over the years is with in studio here with us today. That's Mr. Cash Ealey. Good to have you, Cash. How
Thanks
are you,
for
brother?
having me. Doing really good. How are you?
No doubt, doing well. Good
Fantastic.
to have you here in the. I feel like you should have been in the show a long time ago. At this point,
I'm just glad to be here today.
No doubt, we have a lot to talk about. Cash is with Compass. In fact, if you look at TampaBayRealProducers.com and go to our website, click on issues, you'll see their most recent issue has Cash on the cover, which we're going to talk about here with our recent feature. So I think we initially spotlighted you years ago, I want to say as like a rising star, if I remember correctly, in the market back when we initially hooked up.
Yeah, that would have been like 2018, 2019. Yeah,
exactly
I remember
right.
that. That
right
was
around that time frame.
Yeah.
So business has gone well over the last 6-7 years, thankfully.
Yes, a lot of changes, but it's gone very well, thankfully.
Why don't we start for people who might not know the backstory? So did you grow up in Tampa? If not, how did you get here? And what initially got you interested in real estate?
Yeah, so I grew up in Dallas, and then when my parents split up, my mom moved to Tampa to be closer to her family, and then she got sick with breast cancer. I dropped out of Baylor. I was going to Baylor University at the time. This is my freshman year, and I moved to Tampa to take care of her. And she's doing great now, thank goodness.
Great.
So she's awesome. My best friend. She's actually babysitting my kids right now.
Nice.
So I'm very thankful for my mom.
Shout out to Mama Ealey.
Yes, thank you for that. Made it possible for me to be here since they're out of school. So I graduated USF, and right out of college, I got into the mortgage business.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of your intro to real estate. Was there anybody in the family that was leading you in that path, or you just kind of thought, mortgage business sounds like a good opportunity?
No, so my dad was in the software business during the software boom, and he sold his company, and he ended up buying into a mortgage company in Kansas City, actually, randomly, a few years after that, and he was doing really, really well. Okay. And I had a couple of customers that were coming into the bar that I was bartending at in Ybor City, and they were mortgage guys, and they were like, you need to do this. Mm-hmm. And this was like 2004, 2005, right when I graduated. And I just took a leap of faith. My dad kind of gave me some guidance.
Fell apart, huh?
Exactly. Right before. I had a couple of 2 or 3 really strong years. But yeah, that's how I fell into it. My dad kind of guided me, and I had some customers that were talking me into it. Yeah. And that's where I got started.
So what transitioned you from mortgage to the real estate side?
So I did that until 2010. I made it a couple of years after the crash, and it got really, really tough. And I was actually in Palm Beach doing mortgages over there. And I missed my family. Things were tough. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to move home. So I moved home, and I decided to get my master's degree. So I got my master's degree online, and I got a regular sales job in the meantime in Lakeland for a chemical company. So I did that for a couple of years. And I just said, you know what? I really miss real estate, and I really miss working for myself. Mm-hmm. So I decided to just take a leap of faith. My girlfriend at the time, now my wife, Taylor, was like, you're crazy. You're just going to quit your job and start real estate again. I'm like, I think I know what I'm doing. I did it for a few years, even though it was 10 years ago, but I'm going to jump in on the residential side. So I got my real estate license in 2016 and haven't looked back.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, we connected with you, I guess, 2 years or so after that and featured you as a rising star. Was it hard for you when you think about when you first made that transition back into real estate to get started in the beginning? Did you find some immediate success because of your connections through mortgage, or what was those first couple of years like?
So the first year was great because I was Keller Williams Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
I did really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked to get that award, but the reason I did it, when I was living in Palm Beach, there was this guy. His name was Anthony, and he had a website called Mr. Downtown West Palm Beach.
Okay.
And all he did was do apartment placing for tenants in the Palm Beach, West Palm Beach area. And I was a mortgage guy, and so we were best friends. And he told me everything that he did. And so when I came back, I said, I'm going to do that exact same thing. So I moved back to Tampa, got my real estate license, joined Keller Williams, and then just built Mr. Downtown Tampa from scratch. And that's what I did. I just started advertising apartment locating in downtown, West Shore, Ybor City. Then I eventually branched out to USF. I kind of grew it pretty big. I was going to go with Orlando. I bought Mr. Downtown Orlando. I bought Mr. Downtown Jacksonville. So that's how I got started. I was just doing apartment locating for people.
Very cool. And I love the branding element of it.
It was cool. I did a little character, a little cartoon character, and
That's cool.
The apartments there were a lot building at the time, so they were paying huge commissions to get tenants to come to their building. So
Yeah.
I did really, really. I think I did 67 locations my very first year,
Very
and
cool.
that got me Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, one of the things that we talk about a lot in our Top Producers Nation community too online is the idea of identifying your unique selling proposition and really clarifying what it is that you want to be known for. What position and authority do you want to build from? Which is exactly what it sounds like you did there from the very beginning. And it was that messaging, that clarity that I think helps you gain traction because people then can identify you with something,
Right.
rather than just it's just another agent, right? Because
Exactly.
everybody feels like they have a license nowadays. So what makes you different?
That's so true.
And I love that you were able to get that right off the jump. So you went from there to a couple years later, you started building a team.
Yes.
Right? And was your intent to build a team from the beginning, or did that just happen because business just got too big and you felt like you needed more help? What was the genesis of that team building process for you?
So originally I was just on my own, and the first and best decision I made was hiring an assistant, which is basically it was a transaction coordinator at the time. And then I just got so it enabled me to really, get busy a lot faster. I was able to handle and service a lot more clients. And I just got to a point where I knew I wasn't servicing the clients the best that I could. And I had a cousin at the time that had just gotten his real estate license. I said, you know what? I'm going to show you how to do it. I brought him in, then I brought my brother-in-law in, and then it just grew from there. It really just, I didn't think I was as busy as I thought I was, but I wanted to make sure I gave that same level of support across the board. So
Yeah.
I just needed more help at the time.
Yeah, and what's interesting about we're gonna transition here to some of your commercial focus here too, is that Cash has had experience with a lot of different elements of real estate now. Obviously starting with the mortgage side that you talked about to the rental really business initially through the apartment side to building a team and a lot of. Were you ever out of production in that moment, or were you doing both production while also running a team?
No, I never got out. I didn't think that was a good idea. I wanted to make sure, especially my core clients, that it like repeat customers or referrals. I always wanted to give everybody the same level of service, but I did get a lot of repeats because when I started with the apartment locating, they would call me the next year, either to lease another apartment or to buy their first home.
Sure.
And that's really what transitioned me to the second year in real estate, was just taking all those people that were in apartments and they got married or whatever the case, and they bought a home, and I helped them do that.
Yeah, that for somebody who's new, especially, I think that's a great business model to try to replicate and think through, because you do have a nice little pipeline there of leads coming through. And if you build those relationships, and in some ways, maybe even help some people with their credit or whatever to be able to get them ready for that first home purchase, there's a nice bridge there.
It really made it easy. Yeah,
that you could fill the gap. But I know over the last couple of years, you've been shifting your focus to the commercial piece. And that really is what our article is about, that you have in Tampa Bay Real Producers today. And so I wanted to lean into that a little bit because it's a different angle that I know you're excited about. So what drew you initially to try to pursue more of this commercial focus? And let's talk about what was that transition like, going from the team again to now running the commercial side?
So as I got more experience into residential, my client base grew, and I ended up servicing a lot more high net worth clients. And a lot of those high net worth clients, they not only owned homes, but they also owned businesses.
Yeah.
And so they would often ask me, like, listen, I'm looking to open up a second spot, or I'm looking to start this other business. And I was kind of scrambling to find somebody to refer them to. I had some people over the years that I worked with, but I was just so fascinated by it because as I was helping them buy or sell a home, I would ask them questions about, the commercial side. And I just love that whole, business building aspect and the income you get from properties and just the whole niche of it. And so it was more just coming from a fascination and then realizing there wasn't anybody at the time that just stood out as that's the guy. That's who I need to call, for commercial help because I wanted to stay in my lane. I knew residential, but I also wanted to make sure they were serviced properly. So it stayed in house and the referral fee helped.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And you're right. I mean, we thankfully have had a couple different panels over the years with some commercial experts. I know you've met some of them that we talked about a little bit before off camera. And we, even with our platform though, we really haven't heavily leaned into that commercial side. And I don't think there is as many brands necessarily on the commercial side that you see with the residential side. Why that is, who knows? But I think there's different reasons behind it. But talk a little bit about the types of clients that you find yourself working with now on the commercial side, whether it's still people that are involved with both residential, commercial, or is there a specific niche type of client that you find yourself serving more?
So what I found is, typically it's either been residential clients of mine that are business owners or residential agents at Compass or around Tampa that also have commercial needs. I've done a lot of medical office space. Medical is huge here in Tampa, as you know. It's constantly growing with Advent Health and all the other hospitals. So there's all kinds of niche doctors that need office space. So I've done a lot of that. Medical office has been fantastic. Small bay industrial is huge. People are coming here. They need warehouse space to either warehouse products or manufacture products and sell those things. And there's a few other niches that I've really worked on. I just closed on a gas station in Plant City. That's huge. That was one of my, that particular property, I've never gotten more leads. I mean, that was just, I couldn't believe it. My phone was ringing off the hook, and I had overpriced it on purpose because I knew there was not much else out there. And, we got at asking for the gas station to close pretty quickly. People are hot and heavy
into the gas and oil industry.
Yes, this was before the gas prices skyrocketed. So this was, about a year ago, but that was one of my best transactions. And I sold a 30,000 square foot warehouse right before that to a motorcycle parts company out of Chicago. So it's been a little bit of everything. I really just want to make sure I understand each avenue. So if somebody calls me or refers me, I'm going to, take good care of them.
Yeah. From your experience, Cash, how important do you think it is on the commercial side for someone to really dig down into a specific niche or a specific asset class versus what you just described, kind of being able to serve all these different audiences? Do you think that's just the better way to go if someone was to lean into commercial because you just got so many different types of buyers and sellers and different demands out there? What's your opinion on that? So
honestly, I think that's the only way to go. I think you have to pick a niche. I think it's way more important to pick a niche in commercial than it is in residential because it's so much more complex. It takes so much longer. Each type of commercial, whether it's industrial or retail or office or multifamily, it's like four completely different businesses.
Yeah.
And it's really, really hard to not only be great at all of them, but understand the market, even the sub-market for each of those avenues. So that's why I've slowly started adding people to my team so that I can focus on my niche, which is going to be owner-user investment properties, small bay industrial, or industrial outdoor storage space. That's really kind of what I love. I'm passionate about, but I still get a lot of retail leads. I get a lot of office leads. I've got an office listing right now in Tampa Theater. So I've got a couple of people helping me that are going to focus on those other avenues.
Why are those some of the things that you're most passionate about? Is that just where you find some of the stronger returns are? Or are there other reasons?
I'm seeing that's where the strongest returns are. I'm seeing that's where the biggest demand is coming in Tampa. Okay. A lot of warehouses are moving down here. Industrial outdoor storage is huge right now. Whether that's boat storage, RV storage, putting self-storage lots on there, I think that's the future. I really think that's going to be where the returns are and where the demand's going to be.
Interesting. And so, for that particular asset class, is that driven by like areas that have more land that could be developed? So maybe that's like northern. I'm assuming more North Tampa. There's not a ton of extra land like in South Tampa as an example,
that's pretty hard right now to get that.
Exactly. So I'm assuming that's maybe up by where we are, north of us, heading towards 52.
Exactly.
All in those areas.
The kind of the rule of thumb is they want to be under an hour from an airport and they want to be close to a major highway. Those are kind of the two main things that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, it's just a price point and how much acreage they're looking for and what their business model is.
That makes sense. Are most of your clients Tampa Bay based, or do you find that they're from all over the place?
So in commercial, it's really all over the place. I've got a customer right now. They're in California and they're relocating down here. So I've got one from California. I've done a lot from New York, a lot also local. A lot of doctors that are local. retail seems to be local.
Yeah.
I'm representing a Russian nail salon, which my wife is obsessed with. They've got a location in Palm Harbor right now, and they want to move it to South Tampa because they got so many clients in South Tampa. So it's a good mix. I do a lot of local, but I do a lot of out of state too. Northeast is huge.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yep.
And I'm assuming when you're the types of partners that you would need to have to effectively serve your client. So I'm assuming the key industries would be like great property management.
Yes.
I'm
huge.
assuming is one of these partners that you really want to have a go-to source for, right?
Yes.
Obviously, money is always important. So you're good money people that are going to be able to serve the commercial client at a different level. Because once you get over 5 units, that is a very different financial deal too, right?
Absolutely, it's underwritten
the banks
completely
consider it. They underwrite it differently, don't they?
Exactly. Yes.
Compared to a 4-unit or more building or less, that's really the break is that 5+, right? From what I understand.
That's exactly right.
And then when you're dealing with these other asset classes, there's different financial underwriting guidelines too in some of these other classes. Is that true as well?
Yes, and so it's a lot more useful in commercial to have a variety of banks. I need a lot of money guys because everybody looks at a situation differently depending on whatever their budget is for the rest of the year, if it's an asset class that they focus on. So it's really, really important to have a bunch of different lenders to work with.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So it sounds like for, let's say, an agent out there who is hearing you talk about your journey and your transition in some ways from residential to commercial focus, commercial is deep and there's a lot of different ways that you can go. I guess you could say that about residential as well, but commercial does have so many different types of asset classes. I think for somebody to make that transition, they really need to be committed to it, right?
Correct.
The idea of kind of doing both seems like it would be a fool's errand. That's a
exactly
fair statement?
Right. I wouldn't have been able to have done it if I didn't have a team at the time and still have a team.
Yeah.
Because I was still getting residential, deals coming in. I'm mostly referral based after 10 years. And so I still wanted to service those people in-house.
Yeah.
Because with commercial, the timelines are really, really long.
Sure.
I mean, I've had a closing take a year,
Yeah.
a couple took 9 months. So I needed that income.
Yeah.
But I knew if I tried to do both, it would be impossible because there was so much to learn and I needed to do it quickly and I wanted to do it quickly. So I kept my team and I was able to provide them with referrals to stay on top of the residential side so I could really just focus on commercial.
And that's still true to this day, right?
That's still true to this
you have
day.
a residential side that does get leads given to them through past clients,
Exactly.
et cetera.
Yep.
Are you still supporting anything on the residential side as far as like providing leads and driving that side of the business at all? Or is that just all organic at this point?
So it's all organic. Yep. So everything for me is either going to be referral or past clients.
Yeah.
And I immediately pass those off to one of my 2 team members, depending on what location it's in.
And I know you're passionate about training agents as well to do what you're doing, over these last couple of years. And at some point, we talked off camera about how you might see yourself building a commercial based team and growing that even more. I think you have a couple agents already that you've been teaching. So one of the things that I know any good residential agent should have is a good go-to commercial agent, right?
Yes.
That when a client comes your way and has a need in terms of the value for residential agents and having a commercial guy like you in there on their Rolodex in their back pocket to lean on.
Yeah, I mean, and again, that was kind of the part of the reason why I did that. I wanted to find somebody that I could trust that would keep me in the loop the entire time. Most importantly, that would make me look good and then make sure I get paid, make sure they were serviced properly.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, especially in commercial and some of the smaller deals, whether it's a lease or just a sub $5 million deal, a lot of the experienced commercial brokers either just don't do that or just don't have time for it. And ultimately that reflects on the referring agent. So if you're referring it to somebody that doesn't take care of that client, even though it has nothing to do with you, it actually does.
For sure.
And so I want to make sure if I get that referral, I treat them like they're not only my client, but that I'm on a team with that referring agent. I make them look good. I get them to the finish line and everybody's happy.
Where do most of your clients find you now? Is it through referrals right now, through other agents and that way, or are they finding you in other means?
So right now, everything is going to be either agent referral or if they contact the Compass office, since I'm the only commercial broker in the Tampa Compass office, anybody that calls in for those needs comes to me and I make sure they're taken care of. And then just my clients that I've built over the last 10 years that have commercial needs. Those are kind of the 3 avenues that I do right now.
Got it.
I'm pretty active on social media. I just started doing some video, which I was always really nervous about. But it's worked out okay. I've gotten, some new followers from that. And I just really try to provide value for people. Instead of just talking about what I've closed or what's coming up, I kind of go through the whole process of the deal so they can either understand or I can build trust with them. And so I've gotten some leads off of social media as well.
Yeah, commercial, in my opinion, is one of those things that really requires some education, right? To understand how to analyze. think there's a lot of people out there that probably have a curiosity about what it takes to buy a big building or what it takes to get involved in that space. And there's probably a lot of misconceptions about how much money they would need to have. They think they need to have millions of dollars in their bank account to even entertain it.
Right.
And it's like, it's not always true, right? Like, it's not a bad thing to have money, but it's also a lot of people get into that space who just understand how to analyze a building and understand how to utilize other people's money at times to find a great deal, right? And be able to get into that world, whether that's as a personal investor or obviously in your space where you're helping people do that as the broker, sometimes building your own personal portfolio, but also helping other people do that, for themselves. So for agents that maybe are interested in taking the path, right, that you've taken, we talked off camera about how the process would look like. They would still get licensed just like a residential agent, right? They need to pass that test first, get themselves licensed. But then if they want to focus on the commercial side, there's a specific designation that they should go down. Costs around $8,000, I think you mentioned.
Yes.
Is there anything else to that we should mention there?
So the CCIM designation is the most important. The biggest thing with commercial and the switch is the amount of liability that's on you as an agent. In commercial, it's mostly business focused, and so you're dealing with mostly business owners, and they're very, very serious about their money. So little mistakes that can be made can really come back to haunt you. I mean, there's a lot more lawsuits in commercial than there is in residential. So without the proper training, you want to make sure you have a pro that's on your side, whether that's me or somebody else, at least until you have a really good idea and you've done a bunch of deals or you've gone through the CCIM course. It takes about a year. I'm about halfway through it right now, but I've learned so much because there's so many nuances to it and there's so many different formulas you need to know, and it's super important.
And so that type of a course seems like does that focus in on a specific type of niche as well? Do you select like which path in commercial you want to focus in on, or is that course covering all different asset classes?
So it's broken up into individual ones. So there's a retail portion of it, there's a multifamily portion of it, there's a land portion of it, there's an office portion of it.
And you can choose to take one and not the
other.
You
have to take them all.
Oh, you do have to take them all.
You have to go through them all. You have to go through the finance ones, everything.
Wow.
Risk, litigation.
There's a process there for sure.
Huge, yes.
And you mentioned that the MLS for a commercial asset is called what again?
The main one is called CoStar.
Okay.
Yes, so CoStar is the big one. That's where the majority of properties are going to be listed on. There's some newer ones now. Crexy is really blown up. It's the price point to get in is a lot less. With
I was going to ask you your opinion of like LoopNet, Crexy.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of mixed bags out there. Like I guess LoopNet is the equivalent of kind of Zillow, would you say?
That's exactly right. So CoStar owns LoopNet.
Okay.
So CoStar is the back end for the professionals, and LoopNet is the front end.
Okay.
So you have to be a member of CoStar to post on LoopNet.
Okay.
But you don't have to, vice versa. But yeah, so everything that's on LoopNet is going to also be on CoStar.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Same company. It's owned by Homes.com.
Now, the investors that I was telling you about off camera that I've known over the years always kind of preach the mentality that your real deals are going to be found off market.
Yes, for sure.
That's what they're always preaching. Now, I think you can find deals, obviously, utilizing these sources, Crexy, LoopNet, et cetera. But what's your experience been on this off-market side of things? Is there any specific strategies that you've leaned into to help you get more of those potentially into your networks in any way?
Yeah, the biggest thing is it's very important to have listings on the commercial side, just like it is in residential. But it's extremely important to also have a buyer list.
Yeah,
because on the commercial side, it's not so frowned upon to double in the deals. If you've got a listing or an off-market property and you've got a perfect buyer for it that is going to fund the deal, it's a perfect fit for them.
Yeah.
It's a win-win. You take care of both. You don't have to go on market. So a lot of stuff is done off market.
Yeah.
So as I'm calling for listings to see if somebody's looking to buy or looking to sell, I'm also building my buyer pool, and I'm learning what types of investments they're looking for, whether it's in a certain area or a certain niche in commercial, and I keep those people. And so as soon as I get something, that's the first thing I do is I blast it to them way before I put it on CoStar or Crexy. That's kind of the last thing I do.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And that's kind of what a lot of my professional investor friends would say is that the ones you finally see on Crexy are the ones that they couldn't get rid of the right way. The ones that they wanted to unload to the quote unquote pocket listings, right?
Right. That's exactly right.
So it is important to be on that type of a buyer's list if you want to be in that space as far as the investor piece of this and building those relationships with somebody like you so that you can, get a look at the good deals, the Glenn Gary leads, right?
Exactly.
Before they pop on the other places.
But to be fair on that, I do want to know. So, like my Tampa theater listing right now, you know, he was very adamant about me putting it on LoopNet and CoStar from the beginning.
Okay.
So I'm not opposed to it. If that's something that they want, I will obviously do that. But as soon as I get that listing, I'm already pushing it to my buyer pool.
Yeah.
But I do still put them on.
What's your biggest? Now that you've been in commercial for a couple of years, what do you like the most about focusing on commercial as compared to the residential experience that you had? And is there anything that you don't like so far from that transition?
I love putting deals together because there's very little emotion for the most part, unless it's an owner user buying a medical office to build their business. A lot of it is a lot of it's more hands off. It's more financial focused.
Mm-hmm.
So finding a deal, underwriting the deal for the client, presenting them the deal, them actually liking it, buying the deal, I'm taking care of both sides. It's just a huge win. Like I got the listing on my own. I underwrite it myself, make sure it was a good, fair deal. I had the buyer lined up. I presented it to them, made the deal work. Everybody wins. So I love the deal aspect of it. It's really, really exciting when it comes through. Sometimes it doesn't, and it hurts. Just like
bigger commission checks too, I would imagine,
much bigger.
right?
Yes, much bigger. But on the negative side, it usually takes a lot longer. Yeah, the due diligence period, because there's so much money involved, it takes a lot longer. I mean, it's very common to have 60 days due diligence.
Yeah.
And sometimes 90 days, and then another 60 or 90 days after that to close.
Right.
And there's the process is just so much longer. It's so much detailed because it needs to be.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much involved. So that's kind of the only drawback, and that's why I was lucky enough to be able to maintain that residential income as I was transitioning.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing it without it. I mean, unless you just have a huge nest egg.
Which is really the only way to do it, right?
The only way.
One of the two.
Yeah, I mean, that's
you either
it.
would have to have a big nest egg saved up and go into this eyes wide open as to how long it might take to get that first deal done.
That's exactly right.
Or have some way that you have money coming in that's paying your bills while you are building something that you think could be exciting for the future. Right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same as residential, but it's more like times 5.
Yeah, right.
So you just have to be prepared for that.
No, it makes a lot of sense. But so to transition a little bit for people who might not have checked out your article yet, don't know a ton about you personally. I know that we talked off camera about your family. Your boy's really into baseball. What are some things that you guys love to do, hobbies, interests that keep you busy in this market when you're not working so much?
Yeah, so my wife and I, Taylor, we've got 2 young kids. I've got Cash Jr., he's 8 years old, and I've got Vivian, who is 4, and so they keep us super busy. And so since summer started today, really, we've got them in camps coming up. My son loves baseball and golf. He's going to a UT baseball camp this summer. Him and I play golf every Sunday at Carrollwood Country Club. That's kind of our thing.
That's cool.
And my daughter's getting into dance at a local dance studio right there on Del Mabry, so she loves that. She loves dressing up. I can't think of the name of it, and I feel really bad because it's a close friend of my wife's who owns it.
My daughters are also there. They're over at the All-American Dance Academy.
Tell me where that's at.
It's on Del Mabry.